Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols, and today I have a card to share that's perfect for celebrating a birthday. I'll be using the Party Time Stamp and Stencil combo set. This set has a red rubber background stamp and then 3 stencils to create a fun party hat background. There's the hat bases, the patterns, the tops and the brims, and then confetti that will go in between the hats. I'll also use the Party Time dies to cut the hats out individually. For a sentiment on my card, I'm using the Fill in the Blank Clinging Clear combo set. This has several larger words and then some smaller words in a clear set that you can combine together. There are letters missing in the big words that I'm going to be filling in with some party hats, but you can use other images to fill in those spaces too. I'm using the Stitched Banner Stacklets die collection. I'm using the 3rd largest size in the set. For ink, I'll be using Oreo and Sugar Cube. I'll also be using Lollipop, Pineapple, Candy Corn, Lime Zest, Blue Raspberry, and Jelly Donut. I'll be using lots of blender brushes for my project. Most of these are from the original set, and I also have the white blender brush. I'm using Pixie Spray to hold my stencils in place. I'm using the Moonstone Glimmer Paste, and I have my Nuvo Media Spatula. For an embellishment, I'm using the new Tiny Diamonds Bold set. I'll be using the Lollipop out of that set. And finally, I'll be using Multimedia Matte and Foam Squares. I'm starting off by stamping the red rubber background onto a piece of Toffee cardstock. So I will set up my MISTI. I'll lay the stamp onto the guide on my grid paper so I know where it's going to stamp on an A2 piece of cardstock. I'll close the lid of the MISTI to pick up the stamp. I'm putting the cardstock into the MISTI with a little bit of adhesive on the grid paper to hold it in place. I'll ink up that stamp with Sugar Cube ink. I'll use my Just Press tool to stamp the image onto the Toffee cardstock. And I did this twice because I'm going to use one for my card background and the other one I'm going to use to cut out the individual hats. Next, I'm going to use the stencils to add color, and you'll want to make sure your stencils are right side up with that tailored expressions in the bottom left-hand corner. I'll be holding all of my stencils in place with Pixie Spray. I'm layering that first stencil over the top of the stamped image. It's really easy to line up because you can see right through the stencil, so just line that up, and once it's in place, I'm doing a rainbow blend with my blender brushes using Lollipop, Candy Corn, Pineapple, Lime Zest, Blue Raspberry, and Jelly Donut inks. Next is the stencil that adds the tops to the party hats, and also there are a few hats that have brims. I'm going to do a rainbow blend with Lollipop, Candy Corn, and Blue Raspberry inks, and I'm reversing. I'm going from the bottom to the top. For the panel that I'm using for the card background, I'll add the confetti in between the hats with the 3rd stencil. I'll lay this in place, and then I'll use Sugar Cube ink with my white blender brush through the stencil. Once I've done that, I want to add a little bit of sparkle, so I'll use the Nuvo Moonstone Glimmer Paste with a media spatula, and I'll spread that right across the stencil. While that panel dries, I'll cut out the individual hats from my other panel. There are 3 different dies because the completed background has 3 different hat styles. I'll trim the panel in half with a pair of scissors so that I can cut out these little party hats using my Sidekick machine. I'm using the Yay sentiment from the Fill in the Blank birthday set, and I'm going to line this up on a clear alignment panel in my MISTI to make sure it's stamping straight on my piece of Toffee cardstock. Once I'm happy with the alignment of the sentiment, I'll remove the panel and stamp the Yay onto the Toffee cardstock with Sugar Cube ink. I'm putting the foam insert into my MISTI so that I can stamp the coordinating It's Your Day sentiment with the clear stamp. I'm using that clear alignment panel again, and I'll line my clear stamp right up on the panel. This time I'm not going to stamp it in ink because I can see where that stamp is and that it's lined up the way I want. So then I will remove that panel and stamp the It's Your Day on my piece of cardstock with Oreo ink. I also stamped a few pieces of confetti around the sentiment. I arranged them where I wanted them and then stamped them with Sugar Cube ink. I cut out the sentiment using the 3rd largest in the Stitched Banner Stacklets die collection. I lined this up right around my sentiment and then sent this through my Sidekick machine. You'll probably notice that I cut off a piece of my confetti, and don't worry, I went back and restamped it. I added the background to a Sugar Cube card base. Then for the sentiment, I added one of the party hats to use as the letter A in the word Yay. I popped that up on the banner with a foam square. I used foam squares to attach the sentiment banner to the card front. I trimmed the excess off the edge with a pair of scissors. And then finally, to add just a little bit of sparkle to this birthday card, I used the tiny diamonds in the Lollipop colorway along the brim of the hat in the sentiment. The tiny diamonds fit perfectly across the brim, and I attached them with multimedia matte and placed them with my crystal katana tool. Now this card is done, and we are all set for a birthday celebration. I hope you enjoyed this card, and I hope you learned something new. You can find all of the supplies that I used to create this card at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.